In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted this little seascape in oil paints from start to finish, with a few struggles along the way. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Lovely to have you here with me today. And today I've been painting this seascape. This is a reference photo that I took when I was in Zante. I went to Zante for the weekends a couple of months ago. It's really weird for a Brit to say, I'm just going to go to Zante for the weekends. Well, I'm based in Athens, so it's not too far away. I'm going to leave this reference photo here just until I mix up all the colours. Now, as you know by now, if you know me by now, I don't paint exactly what I see in the reference. The reference is there as a reference just to show me composition and a few values and things like that. It will be similar to the reference, but not exact. This painting took about 40 minutes, and I'm using oil paints, water mixable oil paints to be precise. And I'm just starting by mixing up basic colours, and similar to the sort of composition that you see here. So I've mixed up a really light sky colour there on the left. And here I'm mixing up a distant lands that you can see on the right of the to the reference photo, and I want this to be paler, I guess. It's still quite bright in the distant, but it needs to be sort of pushed back. So that's what I'm doing here at the moment. Colours I'm using today are titanium white, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, burnt sienna, cerulean blue, and ultramarine blue. I love that cerulean blue at the moment. It just gives it a lot more punch, especially in the Greek Sea. Greek Sea is, as you probably know, is beautiful, blue, sometimes green, depending on the time of day, depending on the actual day. But mostly it's beautiful blue. So yeah. So I just spilt some red there in my palette, so I had to get rid of. I used a bit of red there just to desaturate the green. Slightly, I don't want it slightly because I don't want it too bright. And here I'm just mixing up some basic colours for the sea, and it's the smallest palette knife that Jackson's Fine Arts has. I'll leave a link in the description to where I buy all of my materials from. So here I'm just adding, creating a slightly lighter value into the sea. I like to add a little bit of yellow sometimes in my blue mix. And my yellow is escaping again. I think it was the red that escaped in my last video. So while I mix up these colours, I got some news. I have been working on an oil painting course for the last 6 months for a German company called Artefacto, and we had a launch day on Thursday, 2 days ago from today, and I had to paint in front of 300 people online, and I painted a little seascape, mostly using a palette knife, and it was amazing. I was really nervous at first. I don't know if some of you caught that if you signed up for the workshop, but it was amazing to talk to lots of budding artists, mostly beginners, and yeah, that took about 2 hours. And yeah, the course is now available, and the link to that is now on my website. Okay, so I'm mixing up my greens now. Went for the darkest green on the left, and then I've added some red in that, some and some burnt sienna, just to um, add the opposite color of green, just for a sort of natural look. And then I've got like a mid-tone there in the middle of the palette, along with the slightly darker part. And I'm just adding in lighter greens. Now these are all going to get modified, these mixes. Here I'm going to mix up the colors of the dry grass, and yeah, I had a bit of a fight with this painting. Yeah, it took about 40 minutes. There's quite a lot going on. Usually, painting trees at this scale. I mean, this oil painting paper is 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and it was quite tough. So at a certain point in this painting, I didn't really like where it was going. Then I kept going, and I ended up quite liking it. So I'm pretty happy with it, actually. But yeah, about halfway through, I was like, "Oh no, this is not going to work. What am I doing?" So it happens to everyone. Luckily, it's not a final piece. It's just an oil painting sketch. I'm loving doing these at the moment. I'm mainly working on. I mainly work using oil painting paper. I've got panels, MDF wood panels, which I use also for sort of small studies, and I'm going to start using those soon when my paper runs out. But yeah, I had a great time. I love working with these um, impressionistic, abstract, spontaneous paintings. It really allows me to experiment, um, and just having fun with it. I think that's what it's all about, especially with these smaller pieces. And I'll say it again. It sort of sets me up for when I want to paint larger pieces, or pieces that have more detail, pieces that I work while working with layers for final artworks. So I'm just blocking in the sky, very minimal sky, which was titanium white. The two blues I have, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of red here and there. And yeah, nothing difficult. I'm using flat brushes here all throughout the whole painting. Um, just blending a little bit here and there. Really simple. I've got a bit lighter there for the horizon. Want to show some brush work, some brush strokes off in the sky, not too much. I want this part to be really minimal, and yeah, just having a little play for now with the sky. Okay, so I've got an old homemade walking stick here, which I use if I want to hone in on sort of finer details. I don't use it often because I don't want to. I want to stay away from too much details and small brushes. But I just needed it here, and just to knock in the distant lands. Um, yeah, this is Zante. Zante. We went there for a christening. It was a nice place in general. But hot, very humid. Food was great, and yeah, we went there for 2 days a couple of months ago, and took some photos, and thought I would paint it. So yeah, it's a bit more detailed than I would usually do. I mean, the actual reference photo of all the trees and things, but yeah, I mean, it was good fun. Nothing too difficult, but a few areas I did struggle, and you're going to see that. You're going to see from start to finish how I painted this. Okay, so larger brush here, and I'm just going to knock in the dark part into the distant sea, and with the deep breath. Paint is slightly thin here because I'm going to be working over the top of it with thicker paint in certain areas. Yeah, I wanted to lighten this slightly. I'm using a little bit of water because these are water mixed oil paints for my medium, just to help the paint flow slightly more. Let me know in the comments if you have used water mixable oil paints, and if you use a medium or not, or if you just use water. And yeah, I mean, these are great for using water here just to for these sort of studies is more than enough. I don't use any thinner or any mineral spirits. Anything toxic like that does stay out of the studio. I'm not using much water. It's not like a watercolor painting. It's oils. Yeah, and I'm just sort of blending slightly, a little bit of pressure. And these flat brushes are amazing for different sort of strokes. Flat strokes, you can get the end of the paintbrush really allows you to kind of like, I say, draw with the painting, which would draw with the brush. That's quite interesting. So yeah, they're very versatile, these brushes. In general, rule of thumb with oil paints is I work dark to light, but I do, you know, um, change up things, change things up a bit. So it's not like I have to work dark to light. That's general rule, and things do get modified throughout the painting process. I'm just sort of playing really with back and forth, light to dark in the sea. I'm washing my brushes in water in between um, these paint applications. You don't see that because I cut it all out because the video would go on for 2 hours, well, an hour and a half if I didn't cut them out. So I thought it'd be better if I just cut out the parts where you don't actually see me washing the brush. It's a very simple process. You just wash the brush in the jar of water, take it out, wipe it on a towel, old towel or kitchen roll. Towel works best for me. Rinse it off really well so it's just slightly damp when you're going back into the paint mixes. So yeah, in general, I work from what's furthest away and then come forwards in quite a thin manner of paint. So then I can go back again and then work over the top of it because the thicker paint um, it will sit actually easier on the thin paints. Or when I want to sort of add details and enhance things and just play really, especially with my palette knife. My palette knife will be coming up shortly. So I'm having some areas of brushstrokes showing, but because it's like the first layer within this painting, it's going to be sort of blended out. This is I'm going for something really calm here, as you saw in the reference photo. Um, so it's pretty minimal and yeah, just relaxing really and just calm. So there's not much texture going on in the sea. You'll see a little bit later on. But yeah, nice calm and just blending it out slightly. Okay, so a darker mix now for trees. I think this is where I struggled in the painting. Not here specifically, but in general with the trees because they're really tiny to paint and it's quite hard to show off the abstraction that I wanted. And I certainly won't be getting out really small brushes to to sort of make all these sort of details. So the brush sizes were pretty good for me, but there's a lot of colours within the trees. A lot of, I mean, in Greece, most of the trees are kind of like an olive green. We have olives here, um, and they sort of they appear to be quite dried out. So there wasn't much vibrancy within the trees. Um, Different value shifts, but again, more sort of a paler. Um, the trees are more pale. So I played with that, and I also played with the burnt sienna, the brownie sort of colours that you see within these types of trees. But yeah, I had a little bit of a fight with them, but okay, it happens. So yeah, I'm just going back and forth with this paintbrush, same paintbrush, in all of this green now, and see there, I just washed my paintbrush that quickly, and I'm just sort of alternating really. I mean, I have the reference photo to the left of me on the computer. It does help, but it's not like forcing me to paint exactly everything that I see. I'm going to move things around a bit and change it up. I want freedom, and I've got freedom. It's just I've got the reference photo there to hold my hand a little bit in case I get a bit, stuck. But um, for me, that's a great philosophy when it comes to oil painting and oil painting sketches. Is you're the artist, you're in control. You can move things around, you can change things. This is my photo. And if you would like access to this reference photo and many more, then I do have a new Patreon page, and I have a few members that have recently signed up, and I'm really happy to have started a community. If you want to take your artwork a bit further, I have lots of perks, lots of extra discounts, extra tips behind the scenes, and many more things coming soon. So consider subscribing. I'll leave the link in the description below. Let's get back to the painting. So yeah, going to keep going with this, and the paint is thin, not thinned down so much with water. Just slightly thinned out with water, and I'm um, sort of like dry brushing it when the paint runs out from the brush, and I'm just sort of making sure I get in as much paint as I can onto the paper. So I'm just trying to keep it, yeah, like with variation, giving a bit of interest there on this tiny little painting. You can see me mixing in the reds there and some more whites into that pale green, just for some added interest, I guess. Okay, I saw a bit more vibrancy in here, which I wanted to add. I liked where the vibrancy was further back into the painting, so that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, I think around about here I started to think, okay, what's going on? This is a part of mush. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm just playing, experimenting. Um, as I said, this is a 6.5 inch by 6.5 inch piece of oil painting paper. and I'm not an artist that focuses on detail, on too much detail, with these especially. Okay, I'm gonna jump straight in now to the dry sort of grass. This was quite interesting too. This was all like, if you saw the reference photo at the beginning, it's like almost like yellow, creamy color, where it's just completely dried out, and it's really nice and subtle. And I guess with this painting, I was going for something kind of minimal. Some of it turned out minimal at the ends, but that's like the problem when you try and overwork a painting. And this is why I allow myself about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes to finish these paintings, so I don't get caught up in all this detail. And this painting did take me 40 minutes. But you're going to see me chew on it, not literally chew on the painting, but have a little bit of a fight with the painting and removing things and blending things out and working over things, over areas. Here, for example, I sort of added in the darks quite earlier on, I guess, because there were some dark sort of areas of, like, because this grass is very long, and there were some areas of like weeds and greenery, as you see there, and some sort of shadows of mud. Here, I don't know what I was thinking, but I jumped straight in there with some vibrancy, so I'm just trying to get rid of that for now with my old towel. But that's the beauty about oil paints; they're so forgiving. You can literally, you know, move things around. That's why I encourage you to start sort of slightly thinner with oil paints, and you can, adjust things. This paint is slightly thicker, not the thickest paint that I will be using today, but it was slightly thicker. So I could just about, blend it out and move it around, get rid of it, you know. Um, so yeah, here I'm going for a bit of vibrancy here. I saw underneath into the shadow there was a bit more vibrancy within the shadow. So I'm just knocking in some of that in there. Okay, see that brush there? That's one of those. That's the um, the flat brush, and I can really sort of turn it around on its side and get those really sort of like thin lines. They're amazing to work with. I did only use flats in this, and of course the palette knife, because I wanted a lot of kind of like sharp areas. Um, yeah. There's a cute little pathway here, which was a cool kind of like pathway. So I thought I'd add that in there just to break up some warmth next to the warm grass there. That was kind of cool to put in. But yeah, it was about now. I was thinking, like, what am I doing? Do I stop now? Do I give up? Well, I thought, no, this is just an oil sketch. Like, this is experimental. This is where I'm experimenting, I'm playing, and I'm just seeing what I can. I'm testing the waters, so to speak. No pun intended there again. So okay, so that's pretty much the whole of the surface covered in this sort of slightly thin paints. And now I start back again to the distance and just sort of start indicating some lands and some houses in the distant there. And this was a lot of fun. I really like painting the sea. So I'm just, I guess, adding in some lighter areas on top of that first layer there and just pushing down slightly, playing with pressure and gliding it along. I really like seeing certain areas of palette knife strokes or brush strokes, not everything, just some areas. Gives it a lot of depth, you see. So we've got a really blended area of sea there, and I want to keep some of that showing, but I want some texture to work on top of that. And I believe that I'm also wiping my palette knife in between applications here, and especially on the shoreline there where it gets lighter. So I want a bit more heavy paints along that shoreline, and just sort of indicating some highlights like here and there throughout the sea. I love this technique so much. And it's also quite hard to explain what I'm doing. It's kind of easier to actually try it and um, to try it yourself, because palette knife, it does take a bit of practice. I'm still working a few things out, but yeah, it's just so much fun. And I look at that now, I'm just scratching in a little bit just to reveal some white of that paper. Talk about the white of the paper. I did used to tone my canvases like a warm colour, or a colour that's usually opposite to the majority of the colours that I would paint within the painting. I don't do that anymore. I'm not sure why. I think I like the white. The white sort of feels like the colours are more vibrant. When I'm working on a white surface, I'm not worried about, you know, it's not really difficult for me to find tones when you're working on, or values when you're working on a white. They say it's easier it's easier when you're working on a toned canvas or surface, but no, I just like the white. I like to show some white. Like I could scratch in some areas there, and you can a bit of the white would reveal, and that would be like my brightest highlight. Um, so yeah, white surface for me at the moment, and probably forever. Okay, the bit of blending there with the little finger. That's has a different effects than using a brush. It's sort of stronger and blends more depending on how much paint you've got on the surface. That's a lot of fun. Okay, so the paint is thicker here, and I'm just indicating a little bit more of the same colours into the trees there. I was going to do a painting that was a bit quicker as in like a moody scene. Another picture I took on holiday last month. It's a beautiful picture, and it certainly won't take 40 minutes to make. It's very moody and very sort of blended, and it's just sea, mountains, skies are amazing to paint. I want to paint more skies as well, so I'm going to probably go for that next weekend. This weekend I'm home alone, so I had a bit more time to spend a bit more time on painting something that would take longer, and I knew that this would take a bit longer because of all the things that's going on in the painting. So there I just laid in the almost sort of brightest highlight, and I wanted to blend it into what's going on now, and that was quite easy to do because the paint on there, on the yellowy tanny colour, was slightly thicker than what I had done as in the sea and sky. So um, yeah, that was blending quite nicely now. Okay, and I start to get a bit thicker now using the palette knife. Um, and shortly you'll see me adding some more vibrancy into those trees there, just in some sort of areas. I'm not pushing down too hard in some areas because I want to interrupt the paint that's going on there. I think it was about now I started enjoying the painting more. Like I always enjoy the painting more when I get my palette knife out. Um, yeah, I like full palette paintings, palette knife paintings, but I think the best thing to do in my case is start with a brush and then gradually distort areas using the palette knife and add your chunky highlights. A couple times as well, I would pick up the palette knife and dip it into the water slightly, and then dry it slightly, and then that gives a little bit more flow of the paint. Depends what I'm painting. That usually works better for sort of darker areas when I want to blend shadows. I don't usually do that for highlights. I want them to be really thick and hold all that paint as it is from the tube. Yeah, so my highlighted area of that, of those like olive coloured trees are coming into play now. So it's almost it was a bit too bright there. It looked a bit snowy in some areas, but it's blending slightly now into that green paints just there. I always feel like a bit of a ninja with my palette knife. I don't know why, I just feel so awesome with it, like about now, and got so much confidence um, after I've laid down this initial layer, when I jump in with the palette knife. And I'm just cutting in some areas there just to reveal the pathway and that bright highlight that you see that starts on the top of the dry grass. I'm just dragging down now and just making some extra texture there for some fun. And there's some really thick areas there that are sort of shining through between the trees with that same dried grass colour. And again, trying to indicate some areas of greenery that you can sort of see in that dry grass colour with the edge of my palette knife. It's so versatile, this knife. You can do so many things. And you're going to see now, I've just turned it around there, the angle, just to cut through and add some darker areas for the shadows. I really like this direction. If you remember the reference photo at the beginning, the direction of this grass was just really like calm and minimal, and in the same direction. I really liked that. It was sort of pointing towards the sea too. So, okay, I've put my blending brush there in a little bit of water and just rinsed. I just dried it off, dried most of the excess off, and it just allows a bit of blending in certain areas there, like in the background. If you saw that, that just blended quite nicely together. The brush is not soaking wet in water, just slightly. I can push some of those areas back and generate my soft edges, because soft edges with hard edges in paintings always looks really nice. Yeah, I just wanted to blend that slightly, so I just picked up some white there with a little with a damp brush, just to knock that back slightly. Here I'm gonna that's cerulean blue with cadmium yellow, gives a really nice punchy green, almost like a green that you would buy that's already ready in a tube. It almost looks quite fake, but I wanted some of that in the foreground of the trees here. It doesn't show it on the reference photo, but hey, that's absolutely fine. So I wanted just to knock in some thick paint, just for some of those vibrant marks, and mainly more in the trees here in the foreground. And just indicating some more smaller areas here within. Some sort of last minute touch-ups, I guess. There is still a bit more time there with it. Now scratching in again with the palette knife, which I love doing, just to reveal some even more highlights, because you reveal the paper then, which is white. Okay. But it also doesn't remain totally white when you do that. It's just there to show, because it's so subtle as well, because the palette knife is a thin metal blade, so you can scratch in and get those delicate highlights, which I really love. And here I wanted to go a little bit lighter, so again, thick paint with the palette knife and just drag that down with the blending brush, just to add some more highlights and blending action. I'm just being strategic with the blending again. I don't always blend with just a blending brush. I can choose another brush as well, but I like that. And also my finger, which is more of an intense blend. I'm gonna make sure my little finger is clean as well, before and after. And I just decided to go a bit thicker with the rest of that paint, I just wanted it to be a bit cleaner, I guess. And just knock back those darks slightly by painting over it again. So this is where I started chewing on the painting again, but it's fine. It's all fun. It's all fun and games. And I wanted some brush strokes as well to be a bit more visible here. I decided to go back a little bit with some finer details with the edge of my palette knife, because I did see some shadows there, but I think I might have blended this out again and just just moved on, so you'll see in a minute. And a bit more green as well, because it's sort of, you had some green shadows as well from the green grass that was hiding underneath the dry grass, because that's usually what happens. Green is underneath, and a lot of time the tips are sort of burnt off of the grass here in Greece and in many other places in Europe too. That's hot. Yeah, I'm just blending a little bit there, again with the blending brush and my finger. And I actually really liked this when I took the tape off the painting. I was really happy with it. I'm happy with it now. I'm sitting here recording this on my desk, and the painting's on the mini easel on my right, to my right, and I'm really happy with it. Yeah. So yeah, just scratching in again, just to reveal some almost white underneath the paint there on the dry grass. And what am I doing here? I think here I'm going to indicate some light blue areas in between the trees. Just show the sea in between the trees. Yeah. No, on the edge of the tip of the tree behind. Yeah, that cerulean blue is amazing for that really sort of light blue, greeny, punchy sea. I also like cobalt turquoise. I must get some of that if they sell it as water mix sport oils. So do let me know if you've used water mix sport oils and what medium that you use. I'd love to know. I did buy some linseed oil specifically for water mix sport oils, but I haven't used it. Yeah, I might give it a go perhaps next week in next week's video, but let's see. So again, just my favorite expression, just tying some things together. and blend it back slightly. And okay, I attempted to paint a sailboat here, and it went a little bit wrong. As you can see, that it's quite weird. So, slight fix. My forgiving medium oil paints. So I hinted on something there, like a sailboat right in the distance. Just using a palette knife, just with 2 or 3 applications. There we are. So yeah, really punchy colour there I wanted. Just ended up going over it with the palette knife there to really thicken it up. The brush wasn't doing much now. I'd run out of brush work with that tree in the foreground, so it was just palette knife now. And a bit of softening up with my blending brush. And I wanted to use that blending brush just to add some subtle areas of green. I think that was the best thing I could have done with that right there. Was I say almost glazing, but it's not really. It's quite difficult to glaze over wet paint, but it's sort of like it sort of worked for exactly what I wanted. Just that what I just did there with the palette with the blending brush, some thin area of green, and I was really happy with that then. And yeah, just those final touches with palette knife just to sharpen some areas up. So we're approaching the end of the video, and I just want to say a huge thank you for being here with me today, and I really appreciate your support in general. This must be my longest video, so if you stuck around until now, again, thank you so much. I hope I'm helping you out in some way or another. I've just been talking, rambling on. I don't have a script or anything now, I just talk and ramble on, but I do really appreciate your support, and if you do want to like the video or perhaps leave me a comment, it does really go a long way. I'd also like to say a special thank you to Sophia Ackerman, who joined my mid-tier Patreon membership. So thank you very much for joining me there, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care for now, and happy painting.